The champion black belt thought the quiet father was the weakest man in the room. He saw the faded jeans, the ordinary sneakers, the tired face, and the little girl sitting beside him on the bench. He didn't see the scars hidden beneath the man's sleeves. He didn't know why the father never raised his voice. And he certainly didn't know what the man had spent years doing before becoming a single dad. When the champion finally challenged him in front of everyone, the father stood slowly, looked at his daughter, and did something that made the entire dojo go silent. He removed his wedding ring, placed it carefully beside her water bottle, and stepped onto the mat. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people who protect the ones they love, please like this video, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe to Dad's Soul Diaries. Your support helps these emotional stories reach people who still believe that courage doesn't always have to be loud. The father's name was Calder Rowan, a 43-year-old widower raising his 8-year-old daughter, Juniper. To most people in the neighborhood, Calder was simply a quiet single father who worked repairing commercial air conditioning systems. He drove an old blue pickup truck, packed his daughter's lunch every morning, and never complained about working late. Every evening, he tried to be home before Juniper finished her homework. Their life wasn't luxurious, but it was peaceful. On weekends, Calder took her to parks, small diners, libraries, and sometimes the local martial arts academy, where Juniper had recently started beginner self-defense classes. Calder rarely spoke about himself. He never talked about the years before Juniper was born. He never explained the faint scars on his hands. He never mentioned the photographs hidden in a locked box at the back of his closet. And he never told people that before becoming a father, he had served as a Navy SEAL. Calder had spent years in a world where mistakes could cost lives. He had learned to move through chaos without allowing panic to control him. He had learned that shouting didn't make a person brave and that the strongest person wasn't necessarily the one who could hit the hardest. Then he met Juniper's mother. Everything changed. He left active service because he wanted to build a family. For several years, he had the life he dreamed about. Then illness took his wife. After she died, Calder promised himself that his daughter would never grow up surrounded by the violence and danger he had once known. He became a father first. Everything else came second. That was why he never talked about his military career. At the dojo, however, someone had begun noticing him. His name was Rhett Calloway. Rhett was 30 years old, athletic, confident, and the reigning black belt champion of the academy. He had won several regional tournaments and had become accustomed to applause. Students watched him with admiration. Some even copied the way he moved. But Rhett had one weakness. He needed everyone to know he was the strongest. When Juniper began training, Rhett occasionally teased her father for sitting quietly in the corner. He called Calder a spectator. Calder ignored him. He was there for Juniper. Nothing else mattered. One Saturday afternoon, the dojo was crowded. Parents sat along the walls while students practiced on the mats. Juniper was working on a basic defensive movement when she stumbled. Rhett laughed. Juniper looked embarrassed. Calder noticed. He didn't react. He simply smiled at his daughter and encouraged her to keep practicing. That irritated Rhett. He walked over and told Calder that if he was going to sit there every week, he should at least learn something about martial arts. Calder politely said he was only there to support his daughter. Rhett laughed. He asked whether Calder had ever actually trained. Calder said that he had trained in the past. Rhett asked what kind. Calder didn't answer. That made Rhett more curious. He told Calder that hiding behind silence didn't make him intimidating. Calder remained calm. The instructor, Bastian Mercer, noticed the tension and warned Rhett to focus on his own training. Rhett backed away. But he wasn't finished. Later that afternoon, after Juniper completed her class, Rhett approached Calder again. He challenged him to spar. Calder refused. Rhett laughed. He told the room that the quiet father was afraid. Several students looked toward Calder. Juniper looked worried. Calder looked at his daughter. He didn't want her seeing violence. But he also didn't want her learning that fear meant surrendering control. Rhett stepped closer. He said Calder should stop pretending to be some mysterious tough guy. Calder finally stood. He looked at Rhett and quietly said that there was nothing to prove. Rhett challenged him again. This time, Calder agreed. But he established one condition. No ego. No unnecessary strikes. No trying to hurt each other. Rhett smiled. He agreed. The two men stepped onto the mat. The room became silent. Rhett bowed casually. Calder bowed respectfully. The timer started. Rhett moved first. He was fast. His first attack came toward Calder's shoulder. Calder stepped aside. Rhett attacked again. Calder moved backward. There was no wasted movement. No dramatic counterattack. Just calm observation. Rhett became frustrated. He increased his speed. Calder continued avoiding him. Juniper watched from the edge of the mat. She had never seen her father move like this. The man she knew as a quiet mechanic suddenly seemed completely different. His posture had changed. His eyes were focused. His breathing was controlled. Rhett attempted a takedown. Calder shifted his weight. Rhett lost balance. Calder placed one hand against his shoulder and redirected him. Rhett stumbled. The room went silent. He stood up quickly. His pride had been wounded. He rushed again. Calder moved once more. This time, Rhett found himself on the mat before he understood how it happened. Calder immediately stepped away. He hadn't punched him. He hadn't kicked him. He hadn't even raised his voice. The timer stopped. Bastian looked at Calder with a strange expression. He asked him where he had learned to move like that. Calder didn't answer. Rhett stood up and demanded another round. Calder refused. Rhett accused him of being afraid. Calder looked at him and said that fear wasn't the reason he stopped. He stopped because he knew exactly what could happen when pride took control. Those words changed the atmosphere. Rhett asked what Calder meant. Calder looked toward Juniper. Then he finally revealed a part of his past. He told them he had served as a Navy SEAL. The room became completely silent. Nobody expected it. Rhett stared at him. Bastian looked surprised. Calder explained that he hadn't mentioned it because he didn't want his daughter growing up believing that violence was something to admire. He had seen people become obsessed with being strong. He had seen good men lose themselves because they believed strength gave them permission to control others. He had also seen ordinary people become incredibly brave when someone they loved was in danger. That was the lesson he wanted Juniper to understand. Strength wasn't about making other people afraid. It was about making other people feel safe. Rhett lowered his eyes. For the first time, he looked embarrassed. Calder could have humiliated him. Instead, he offered his hand. Rhett hesitated. Then he accepted it. The room slowly relaxed. Juniper ran toward her father. She asked whether he had really been a Navy SEAL. Calder smiled. He told her that he had been many things before becoming her father. But being her dad was the title he was proudest of. Juniper hugged him. That moment changed something inside Rhett. He had spent years chasing trophies. Calder had spent years chasing ordinary moments with his daughter. And suddenly Rhett realized which man had actually won. Over the following weeks, Rhett began changing. At first, it was subtle. He stopped mocking beginners. He started helping younger students. When someone made a mistake, he corrected them patiently instead of laughing. Bastian noticed. So did Calder. One evening, Rhett approached Calder after class. He apologized. He said he had mistaken quietness for weakness. Calder accepted the apology. Then he told Rhett that confidence didn't need an audience. Rhett asked him how he had stayed calm during their sparring session. Calder explained that years of training had taught him to breathe before reacting. But life had taught him something more important. He told Rhett that discipline was easy when everything was going well. The real test came when someone insulted you, embarrassed you, or challenged your pride. That was when character appeared. Rhett remembered those words. Months later, the dojo held a community demonstration. Rhett was asked to demonstrate advanced techniques. Instead, he invited Juniper onto the mat. Everyone expected him to show off. Instead, he asked her to demonstrate a basic defensive movement. She made a mistake. Rhett smiled and encouraged her. Calder watched from the back of the room. Juniper tried again. This time she succeeded. Everyone applauded. Calder smiled. Rhett looked toward him. There was no rivalry anymore. Only respect. After the demonstration, Juniper asked her father whether he missed his old military life. Calder sat beside her outside the dojo. He thought for a moment. He said he missed the people he had served beside. He missed their loyalty. He missed knowing that everyone around him would protect one another. But he didn't miss the danger. He said that after years of uncertainty, he had learned to treasure ordinary afternoons. A daughter laughing. A warm meal. A safe drive home. A quiet evening. Those things were never ordinary to someone who had once feared losing everything. Juniper rested her head against his shoulder. Calder looked at her and smiled. He knew he had made the right choice. His greatest victory wasn't something that could be placed on a shelf. It wasn't a medal. It wasn't a championship. It wasn't the moment he silently defeated a black belt. It was this. His daughter was safe. She was becoming confident. And she was learning that strength and kindness could exist in the same heart.